Okay. This module is going to describe how to do assignment 1. Assignment 1 is located on our Compass website, so we're going to go there and look at that assignment. When you get to our Compass website, you will want to go to the assignment section. Our assignment 1 here is due January 29th. There are 2 attached files to this assignment. Assignment 1, which gives you the description of it. If I click on it, this is basically the same thing that it was distributed in class. I want to reiterate, we want to look at rice, and that is in this database, rice milled. And we want to look at rice consumption for the 2017 marketing year. And we also want to look at that over time in a graph, 2000 to 2017. You are going to produce that table and that graph using the data that is also attached to this website. You could also download it directly from the Production Supply and Demand online from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. But I have made available and attached here this CSV file. That is where the data is, and now we are going to go through the steps using Excel. This file is going to be brought into Excel, and we're going to manipulate it there. The steps that we're going to use to manipulate that file is 8 here. Download the file, bring it into Excel, insert a pivot table. The pivot table is going to have rows which are country, columns which are marketing yields, and we're going to filter it by rice consumption, not production consumption. We're going to copy that data into a new spreadsheet, eliminate the years before 2000, and then we're going to sort from highest to lowest. All right, that's our steps. I'm going to start here with step 1 and look at that step. So here's step 1. We're going to download this file. How you do that, I would, on my Apple machine here, just click, right click, and then download it. Sometimes if you download this from your machine, it will be brought immediately in Excel. What I am going to do, though, is download this. And see, if I click on it, I get mine over in here, which is not what you want. But what I'm going to do is click on it and download that linked file as, and then I'm going to save it to someplace on my spreadsheet and name it something that I can remember. So that's my steps. How you get that onto your machine computer will depend on your particular computer setup. Now, brought in my data into my Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. So I've completed step 2. I brought it into Excel. There are data from columns A through L. The first line of it just gives the name of that data, and then afterwards all the remaining lines, and there's over 600,000 lines in this file, gives one data point for each one of those. I am going to do a data filter just to show you what's in some of these columns and point out some of the important ones. The first column here that I'm going to point out is commodity description. So commodity description is here. We see the list of, I filtered it, and by clicking down on it, I can see what's on us. We are going to use rice milled, but as you can see here, there are many other commodities in this file. We're also going to look at, or you make use of here, the country name. So if we click down here, you can see all the country names here that are in this database, and there are very many databases. We're going to make use of the marketing year. The marketing year is what we use to differentiate between the data in marketing years. We will not be using the calendar year, which is when it's updated. We are going to be using the attribute description, and here you see all the different attributes that are in here. We are going to be looking at domestic consumption, so here we're looking at domestic consumption. We are also going to be looking at this value. So here, interpreting this line right here, this line is for barley in Afghanistan in the year 1960. It's the area harvested, and there was 350,000 hectares. Here's the unit description. So this one means 1,000 metric tons. What we are going to do is use a pivot table to sort out all the domestic consumption data. So we want all of these based on domestic consumption, and we want those arrayed by year and country. To do that in Excel, we are going to use a pivot table. So here I am on step 3. We are going to be using a pivot table to sort out the data on rice, on consumption, and we're going to put in rows our countries and in columns our marketing years. So now I'm going to do step 3 here. Now I'm ready for step 3. What I'm going to do is going to insert a pivot table. You will go to the Insert tab. Mine now are under these tables. They're over a little bit, but if over a little bit, you'll see Pivot Table. I'm going to insert a pivot table. We're going to choose the range for the data, which you see the data listed there. You're going to sit OK. Once you do that, Excel has inserted a new sheet. It's called Sheet 1 in my case, and it's separate from this, and now it's a pivot table. And again, what we're going to use the pivot table for is to sort out the consumption rice data, and we're going to put the consumption rice data in this pivot table, and we're going to put columns are going to be marketing years, rows are going to be countries. So we are now on step 4. We have inserted the pivot table. Now we're going to do the pivot table. We're going to put rows as their countries, columns as our marketing year, and we're going to filter that data from rice milled and consumption. So let's do that step 4 right now. All right, our filters. We are going to filter this based on our commodity description. Again, we only want to see rice, so you'll see here when we brought that filter down, and by the way, all of this here, right here, is a list of all of the columns right here. So the variable names, we have done commodity description. We are also going to do the attribute description. So we bring the attribute description down here. Again, we want to do this in rows by country. So I'm going to bring my country name here. We are then going to put our marketing year in our columns. So here our country name, you'll see all our countries listed here. Marketing year here. So we got that. And the thing that we want to put down there is the value. So let me go back to this main sheet and tell you what we did. Filter. Our filter is going to filter out our filter is going to filter out our commodities, B, and our attributes. We're going to take the countries, list them down the rows, marketing years across the column, and then put this value in the middle of our table. So we're going to have one, when we're done, that has each one of the values for each country and each year. Coming back here, I got to put the value down here, and now I have the sum of the values. If you click here on this one, you can see that I can get different values. I'm going to start with count just to see. So right now, if I look at this count, Afghanistan 1960, there are 60 cells contributing to that value. Let's bring this down. I want to bring this down to rice milled. I want to bring this down to domestic consumption. And now I've done that. Now each one of these now only have one, so we got the right number of values for, in this case, if we had more than one, we could sum them. And actually, I'm just going to hit sum. And now we have a pivot table with domestic consumption. This is domestic consumption for Afghanistan in year 1960, and that was 203,000 metric ton. All right, that completes step 4, and now we are going to go here to step 5. So, to do step 5, we're going to copy data from this sheet into a new spreadsheet. All right. You could do this any one of a number of ways. I'm just going to add a sheet over here, and I'm going to take this data, and I'm going to start at this top column. I'm holding down my shift key, but I'm going to go to the bottom of the data, and you can see here we have 141 rows. While I'm holding the shift key, I'm going to go over here to the last column and highlight it. Now you'll note I did not highlight BH because that is a sum across all years. I just want it up to the final year. And I don't take the final row, which also is the sum for all 2017. I'm going to take that data, I'm going to copy it. I inserted a new sheet, and I'm going to paste it. All right, so now I got my data outside of that spreadsheet, and I can work with it pretty easily. You could copy that into another spreadsheet as well if you so choose. All right, we've copied the data to a new spreadsheet, or in my case, a new sheet. Next, we want to eliminate years before 2000. All right, I'm going to do that. You could have done that like I did in class, in the pivot table yourself. The other way to do this is just to come over here and highlight all the columns before 2000. Highlight those, so highlight that. If I want to highlight that column here, I put my AO, then go to my other column that I want to highlight. While I'm holding the shift key down, highlight that one. I've highlighted those all, and I want to delete. All right, I've deleted those. Now I have just my data from 2000 to 2017. All right, that's the data that I want to work with, and I only want to do a graph from 2000 to 2017. That's why I deleted the earlier data. Why we're doing that is because EU actually has changed over time, and since 2000 it's been stable. So now we've done step 6, and now I'm going to sort that data from highest to lowest. Sort the data is relatively straightforward. I'm going to come over here to my 2017 column, and I'm going to go data sort. Now what Excel is going to know to do is to take all of that data and sort all of it. You could highlight a range, but I'm going to hit sort. It will then ask me sort by. I want to sort it by 2017. You could choose to do that by any year. And I want to do largest to smallest. All right, I've just sorted this data. In 2017, the largest country for rice had 142,450,000, and there's 1,000 metric ton. That country happens to be China. All right, we have our data sorted. Now we are ready to produce our table and our graph. And I'm just going to go over this briefly. I said for the table that I wanted the first 10 columns, so I'm just going to first 10 countries, so I'm just going to highlight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's my first 10. I'm going to go copy that. I'm going to insert another sheet here, put my first 10 columns. Oops, I'm sorry, did that wrong. Go back here, copy this again, go back here, paste, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the 2017 consumption. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Copy that. Paste that here. And then do total world consumption here at the bottom. To come up with total world consumption, which I can't spell here, I'm going to do a sum here of this column, because this is all of our consumption. So this is going to be sum. I'm going to sum all of the countries, which would then give me world consumption. In 2017, there was 480,498 metric tons. All right, so I'm going to equal that. And there I have the basics of basics of my table. I also asked you to calculate the percentage of each country. So China is 142,000 divided by total consumption. So it equaled 29%. All right. And you could, after you put in, make sure that our consumption at the bottom stays the same. You could copy that formula down, and you can see China has 30% of the consumption of rice, India 20%, going down the list. All right, you can make that. You're going to have to just like use the tables in the graph or in our handout from class as a guide, but highlight those more. And now it's just a matter of making changes, inserting some commas, for example, would be a good thing. So our formatting this to be a number. So format cell, I would highlight that and make that a number with no decimal points. There's no reason to have any decimal points using the commas for the things. So it just makes our things more readable. Add lines, put some lines in, put some headers in. Be sure and put the units in. This is 1,000 metric tons, so we want to put the tons at the top. Put the source. It's always good to list the source at the bottom of the table and on your graphs as well. All right, that gets our table going. Coming back here, I asked you to graph the first 5 countries in terms of consumption. So we're going to take the 5 countries with the largest consumption in 2017, and we're going to graph that. To do that, I'm going to delete this row labels here, but I'm going to highlight, again, holding down my shift key. I'm going to just count down. China's 1, India's 2, Indonesia's 3, Bangladesh is 4, Vietnam is 5, and then go over here to 2017. I'm going to insert a line graph, and I'm going to choose this type of line graph. And there you see the lines graphs. All right, now you're going to have to, or I would suggest that you format this line graph, make it look nice. And again, if you right click on anything, you can make everything format the axis, put a line in, for example. But just work with it and get it to look so it's nice. But there you have the basics of the graph. Here's China at the top. Here's India. Here's Indonesia, Bangladesh, Vietnam. All right, now that you've created those, I want you to sort of tell me what you see as far as changes in rice production and what that means for the market. All right, I'm going to not give you any more detail about that and let you think about it, but what does this graph tell you about consumption over time? All right, that should get you well along your way for assignment 1. I'm going to stop now, and remember to turn it in. All right, you're going to do all this. You're going to write my couple pages, then you're going to come back here into assignment, and you're going to upload it here. and then you're going to submit it. All right, so that's your setups, and have fun with that assignment.